You are listening to The Thought Leaders Show with the world's cutting-edge, hottest innovators, influencers, and impact makers today. If you are looking for inspiration and motivation, listen in. Welcome to The Thought Leaders Show. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Jeremy Matranga, RFC. Jeremy is a well-known financial educator in the Woodlands, Texas, and is president and founder of Platinum Tax and Wealth Management. His experience is in helping retirees and those soon to retire avoid common, costly financial mistakes. Jeremy has advised retirees and pre-retirees, including current and past employees of ExxonMobil, AT&T, Southwestern Energy, Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, and many others. He is a member of the South Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and the National Ethics Association, an organization that promotes consumer confidence by providing a source to verify business ethics for financial and insurance advisors. Jeremy has spoken at Harvard Business School's Business Expert Forum, and he has also been on Fox 26 News as a financial analyst several times. Jeremy and his team provide straight talk, logical thinking, and effective strategies with confidence that can only be gained from years of steering clients through the financial maze. Recommendations and decisions are made solely in the interest of providing the highest value and benefit for each client. Objective solutions combined with tax-efficient investing may help lead to sound financial solutions. Jeremy has lectured widely on financial topics and speaks regularly to investors in the Woodlands and Houston area. He has earned his RFC from the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants, and his true passion is spending time with his wife, Cindy, and their children, Lane, Caitlin, and Chase. The Matranga family are members of Woodlands Church, located in the Woodlands. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
You know, finances and taxes and wealth, it's something that is, I just say, something the average person may get a little bit overwhelmed with. So I'm really happy that you're here today to help with that. So first of all, Jeremy, can you tell me a little bit more about the people you help?
Our firm works with successful individuals, families, and businesses. We seek to build long-term relationships with hardworking, self-made people who need help making sense of their financial situation and developing a clear vision of the future.
So what would you say are some of the big issues or problems facing people today as they think about retirement?
So one of the questions is, when can I retire? Another question is, will I outlive my money? And finally, am I paying too much in taxes? Those are the three big questions that we deal with on a daily basis.
So can you expand on each one of those questions a little bit more?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges that we see is that everybody has this idea that they're going to retire whenever they turn 65 and get the gold watch and ride off into the sunset, right? And the reality is a lot of people that we work with don't really have a true plan to see, what their retirement income is going to look like, calculate all the expenses. So we find people retire kind of blindly, is what we call it. You really have to have a plan whenever you're going to make that decision to retire and move on to the next stages in your life. Which goes into the next question, which is, will I outlive my money? Used to advisors would plan for 20 years or so of retirement. Well, now with the advances in the medical fields and people living longer, you may have to plan for 25 to 30 years. That's almost as long as you worked. So you got to be able to have enough money to last to that whole time period. And then the final thing is, am I paying too much in taxes? What a lot of individuals don't understand is that the biggest cost of investing is actually taxes and inflation. So you got to make sure that you have a proper strategy, to offset those two silent killers, is what I call them. Unfortunately, there's a lot of individuals out there today and professionals in our industry that put together these, fabulous tax plans, but then they never really get executed on. So at our firm, what we believe in is that you need a good tax management strategy.
Tax management, which leads to wealth management. So here's a question that I'm thinking about, because let's say that you're somebody like me and really 65, I don't know that I'll retire at 65, but let's say that I'm a little bit late in entering the game of wealth management. How would you work with somebody who's maybe in the baby boomer age range, who's actually pretty close to retirement, and now they're sitting here going, uh-oh, I lost a lot, for example, in 2008 when we had the crash. And so it's almost as if we had to start over. How do you handle that? And what is this thing about taxes that we really need to know about?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, I would say that each individual is just that, an individual. So everybody's circumstances are different. So the first place that you would begin is to sit down with someone, like myself, and go through a process that lays out the whole picture. What your goals are, what your dreams and aspirations are, ultimately what you want to accomplish for the rest of your life. It's scary whenever you think about that you've either waited too long to start saving, or you lost everything back in '08. Those are all very scary things and emotional feelings that people experience. So you got to find a way to remove that emotion out of it and just sit down and work with someone and come up with a plan that's executable.
That makes a lot of sense. So, for example, if I'm obviously I'm an individual,
Right.
but if I look at it from the perspective, okay, so I have to look at the money that I'm saving for the future, and what are all the things that I need to be thinking about related to that. Obviously there's taxes, there's investments, insurance. When you sit down with someone, what would that conversation look like if I came in and sat down with you to talk about this? What would some of the questions you might ask me, and what would we actually be looking at?
So, what we would do is we will go through a comprehensive fact-finding session, okay? What that means is we want to look at, obviously, what your debts are, what your assets are, how much money you need to live off of on a monthly basis. We go through that and we come up with, ultimately, you're going to need to find a number that you're comfortable with, right? Saving on a monthly basis. The biggest mistake people make is paying themselves first, right? We hear about that all the time. Pay yourself first, pay yourself first. Well, it really is true that if you don't pay yourself first, then everybody else gets paid except for you. Managing the taxes is just that. For individuals, especially small business owners, they miss out on a lot of opportunity to save money just because they're not getting the proper advice from someone. When we sit down with somebody, we take a holistic approach and managing their wealth. So we bring everything in. We look at everything: your tax situation, your estate planning, all the way down to your auto insurance, to make sure that you have the proper protection in place for that. I have a team of people that I work with that help us with those type of auto insurance policies and things like that, because the biggest thing that you have to have is a roadmap. If you don't have that roadmap, how are you going to know where you're going? I always tell people that when you start building your house, if you're building a new house, the first thing that you have to have are the plans, right? The blueprint. So many times when it comes to people's money and their finances, they have no blueprint. So, they're shooting blindly, trying to figure out how they're going to retire, what's the most effective strategy. And then they get into a situation where that time to retire is getting closer and closer, and they don't feel like they have enough money. So they start taking on undue risk to try to make more money. And that's one of the worst things that you can do for your well-being.
So what would be a risky thing to do to make more money?
So something risky would be to invest outside of your comfort level. Going into I guess like all stock portfolio or something along those lines. Whenever you really are more of a conservative investor, you need to have the proper mix of investments at the end of the day, and stay committed, right?
So what you do, and your company is actually, what is your name of the company? It's Platinum.
Yeah, Platinum Tax and Wealth Management.
Right. And you actually call what you do the Platinum Experience. So working with you, if I worked with you, who do I need to be talking to? Other investment advisors, or are you like a full service type company where I could come in and say, hey, Jeremy, I want to do all these things. So are you somebody that I could get all of this advice from, and your team, obviously?
Yeah. So, that's another big thing out there is that whenever you start working with several different financial people, you end up getting multiple, opinions on how to do things. And, so what we recommend is that if a client is going to work with us, that, we manage all those type of financial, all their assets. We manage their tax side of the financial equation. That way we can develop the plan and strategy to guide them along the way. Working with multiple advisors, sometimes presents a conflict because I might be making a recommendation from one standpoint, from one point of view, right, saying we should do this. And the other advisor may be making a recommendation based upon their opinion and their views. And I'm not saying that either one is right or wrong, but it could potentially put you as a client in a negative situation because what I find is that you end up looking at a portfolio and now you may be overweighted in one asset class or another because two people are trying to manage the money.
Right. Well, I can see what you said earlier about working with someone, and obviously you have to be working with an advisor who's matching who you are too, because it's a very personal thing. And if somebody is more aggressive than you are, you might not be comfortable with that. And it's all about the balance. So you have to be looking at taxes, investments, insurance, estate planning. You talked about insurance. Do most people think that insurance is only good for after you're dead? Is that the perspective of most people, or do they understand that it can actually be part of a bigger picture?
So, your question is referring to really life insurance. When I said insurance a while ago, I was kind of talking about all sorts of insurance, right?
Okay.
just to, on a high level overview is, you need to make sure that you're properly insured on your autos and on your vehicles and on your,
House.
on your house and, proper health insurance. All those type of things are detrimental to your well-being when it comes to your finances. To your question though about life insurance, yes, a lot of people understand that that life insurance really isn't something that you buy for yourself. Life insurance is something that you buy for the people that you love. And sometimes you need life insurance and sometimes you may not need life insurance. There's all an equation that goes into that you have to sit down and calculate it. And so many times people sit down with somebody, like a life insurance agent, right? And what that life insurance agent's job is to do is to sell you life insurance, but he's not looking at your overall financial plan. So when you come to me, we may find out that, hey, you didn't need a $3 million life insurance policy. You really only needed, $1 million. And then if you have someone that has, a larger amount of money, we'll use life insurance for income replacement. So if you have a breadwinner that passes away, the last thing that the spouse needs to worry about is how to make it, through that tragic time in their life. That would be one reason to have life insurance in place. And the other reason would be for estate planning purposes. If you have a large estate and you could potentially be facing some estate tax issues, then you might use life insurance in that scenario as well.
Wow. Now I know why people need to come talk to someone like you, because there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle of wealth management and, of course, the tax issues. And I find that very interesting. When you talk to people, do you find that most people, when you ask them what they think their biggest expense is, do they say taxes or do they think it's like their house?
So whenever you talk to people mainly about, the house is a number one answer. That's for sure. Some people will say taxes. It depends on the type of people that you work with, right? At the end of the day, people that have a better grip on their financial well-being, I find those people know a little bit more than the people that are reluctant or maybe to a point almost scared to kind of look at their finances and deal with it because it's overwhelming to them, which is completely understandable. Sometimes when you look at this stuff, you're like, oh man, what do I do? How do I do this? And and it's scary, and I always tell people I'm in the close to the Houston area. So I work with a lot of oil and gas people. So a lot of engineers, and it's nothing to be, feel bad about. If I came and tried to do your job, I wouldn't know what I was doing. I couldn't, I'm not an engineer. So, let me take this off your plate and let me help you with this, and I'll educate you along the way so that you have an understanding, but you don't have to do it alone.
I like that because I think you're absolutely right. There is a lot of fear related to money and, of course, looking into the future. And we're going, oh, my goodness, I lost so much, at different periods of time. How in the world can I ever move forward? And so it's great that you educate people. Also, if somebody would like to talk with you or work with you, how can they get more information?
They can go to our website. It's platinum, TWM.com.
PlatinumTWM.com. And they can go to your website and find out more about you. It's Platinum Tax and Wealth Management. That's where the TWM comes from. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for sharing today. I learned a lot and you've relieved some of my fear I have about looking at my finances and trying to figure out a plan for the future, because I think that's something that is really important. And I think a tax advisor or a wealth management advisor should be a part of everyone's team, especially if you're an entrepreneur or someone who is looking, at retirement, in the next, 50 years. I mean, we should have this conversation like when we first start working, not, when we're 50 and looking at, think I'm 15 years away, because it's something that is so important because, like you said earlier, we're living longer. And we have to be able to, if we're working 30 or 35 years or 25 years, whatever that may be, and we can expect to live another 20 to 30 years, we really need to have a plan so that we're not the person working at the local grocery store, not because they want to, but because they have to. I see a lot of that where the people are working because they have to work, even though they're well into their 70s and 80s sometimes. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today.
Everyone, Jeremy Matranga, and he is a registered financial consultant in Texas, and he can certainly help you. So go visit platinumtwm.com. This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to the Thought Leaders Show. To get all past shows and to get all future shows, go to thoughtleadershow.com.